progress on it. Thank you very much.
Chris Hockenvold.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This fits the same description I've used before. It's a grunty little bill and it has a purpose. And I join with the other speakers on both sides of the House in encouraging Parliament to adopt this one in fast order. It's not always when you're speaking on a bill that you suddenly realise the relevance of it to your own situation, but in this particular bill, Mr. Speaker, should members of the public be listening and wondering how it would work, I can actually give an illustration. And the illustration was some years ago. I was in Auckland. I'd been to a pay-as-you-go gymnasium, a well-known gymnasium in Auckland. And unfortunately, at that particular time, there was a gentleman operating in the building, which resulted in theft. And he did things fairly quickly. He didn't just steal your wallet, he stole a pair of your trousers. It was quick. You simply go into the changing room, watch, see who's there. As soon as they've gone out, go to their locker, spring the locker, grab the trousers, put them in your bag, and you walk out. And so picture, if you will, you come back, you have your shower, you go to get dressed, you put your shirt on, and suddenly you've got no strides. So you go up to the reception centre and you say, I've lost my breeks. Well, you do if you're a Scottish person. And they say, how do you mean? So they say, well, my trousers have been nicked. And they say, oh, God, not again. We think we know who did it. So I said, well, do you mind asking if I could have my trousers back? It was a brand new suit. Bought from a department store in Auckland. In a gymnasium. All right? This guy was operating. It gets worse. It gets worse. He says he's never heard them called gymnasiums. It was, but I won't, even though we're in a privileged place, I won't give the name of it. It would give the place a bad name. And it was but it was a big commercial gymnasium. Yep. Anyway, I lost my breeks. This guy was operating. He'd come in, a young guy was there. He said, oh, yeah, he does it all the time. He comes in, waits to see who's got wallets and things in their pockets, and then as soon as you go out, he'll jemmy the. He was a member of a gang. He had his tattoos and everything, and I thought befriended him, but anyway, he nicked me breeks, and so you're standing there at the counter, and they say, oh well. They said, we'll call the police. We know who it was. We'll call the police. We had enough of this. So I said, righty-ho, I don't mind seeing the police. And then, so while I waited for them, I phoned the bank. Standing in your shorts, trainer shoes, a shirt and tie, looking ridiculous. And you phone the bank and you say, I'd like to cancel my credit cards. And they say, what are the numbers? And you say, I don't know. I haven't got them. They've been stolen. And so you have these protracted conversations. Then the police arrive, and they know the individual, okay, but your chances of getting your stuff back are very limited. What was in your wallet? So I said, well, he really hasn't got much, really, because it was only credit cards, a little bit of money, a Scotsman's wallet. And I've cancelled all the cards, so they'll be no use to him. The policeman looked at me with old world wonder and said, oh, I think they've already been sold, Mr. Rockenfell. I think they've already been sold. So I said, well, they'll be no use to anyone. They're cancelled. And he said, yeah, well, we'll come and see you in a few months, and you can tell us how useful they were. So I gave a light laugh, and then there was one other amusing part. I went to to Smith & Cowie, where I bought the suit, went to the tailor, gentleman's outfitter, very professional people, and I said, I need a certificate. And they said, yes, sir, what for, sir? So I said, the suit I bought. Oh, we remember it. It was a whatever it was. So I said, well, the trousers were stolen. And the guy didn't change his expression until he looked straight at me and said, were we in them at the time, sir? Anyway, I got the insurance for them. And then I started to get demands for payment from other department stores, which I had never been to in South Auckland. And I'd phone up the financial controller and say, I have never been to your store, and I have got a bill here for thousands. And they said, but you opened an account, and we cited your credit card. And they would not relinquish the demand. And so I went to see my solicitor and one thing and another, and eventually they did relinquish the demand because the age that the guy had given was not in any way related to my age. But they would not take my name off the debtors list, because someone in that name, and with, well, yes, but with a name like mine, there are not too many Ockenvolls around, and so it affects your credit ratings and all those sorts of things, or it could, potentially. The point of the story is, Mr. Speaker... the point of the story, Mr. Speaker, is that had we had this verification system, that would not have occurred, and the cards would indeed have been valueless. And that's why I think it is try to give it a practical rendition to a very, very useful piece of legislation, which, in fact, in my case, would have worked. They did apprehend the person who nicked the trousers. They said he was one of the very, very few people that they've arrested who actually said nothing. And so I wrote him a nice letter, hoping that he had a nice time where they sent him. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Claire Curran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.